For the third weekend in a row, McLaren have fallen behind the competition, and in Singapore they were only the third quickest team on track. It's quite a drop for a squad that not long ago dominated the midfield and even the front with 4 straight 1-2 finishes earlier this season. The only reason it wasn't 5 in a row was because Lando Norris retired from second place in Zandvoort. To see them go winless since that race, and now being genuinely outpaced by Red Bull and Mercedes, is something few would have predicted just a couple of months ago. But the big question now is, what's behind this sudden shift in performance? Is it just a track-specific issue, or is McLaren starting to face a deeper, more concerning trend that could affect the rest of their season? From the very start of the year, McLaren's Achilles heel has been circuits with tight, low-speed corners and uneven braking zones. Drivers have pointed out that in these conditions, the car struggles with a weak front end, which creates understeer and drains driver confidence. This year's tyre construction changes have also played a part. As Lando explained in Singapore, the medium compound helped bring some front-end bite back into the car, but the soft tyres, used for those critical Q3 laps, actually made the front less responsive. On a qualifying focus track like Singapore, that shift in balance completely unsettles the driver just when precision and confidence matter most in the chase for pole. Team principal Andrea Stella offered some insight into the problem, saying, "When we have braking with big bumps and curbs in Canada, we weren't the best car. In Baku, we weren't the best car. And in Singapore, we aren't the best car. This isn't a total surprise. We know the conditions in which our car was developed. We gain most of our time mid-corner, but on these tracks, the mid-corner sections are too short. It's all about braking and traction, and with bumps and curbs, we just struggle a bit." He went on to say the drivers' feedback in Singapore was almost identical to what they reported in Canada and Baku, showing a clear recurring pattern. Interestingly, the qualifying results in both Singapore and Canada were nearly identical at the front. George Russell taking victory, Max Verstappen second, and Kimi also performing strongly. This consistency highlights just how track-specific McLaren's weaknesses are, something the team fully understood when designing the car. But with modern ground effect cars, it's practically impossible to build a suspension setup that works perfectly everywhere. McLaren's design favours long, sweeping, high-speed corners where the car can use its downforce and rotation balance to full effect, rather than tight stop-start corners that combine heavy braking and sharp steering inputs. Another major factor behind the recent dip is development focus. McLaren effectively halted major upgrades early in the year. Once Oscar Piastri secured 3 wins in a row, from Bahrain to Miami, the Constructors' Championship was virtually locked in. That early dominance gave McLaren a comfortable buffer and the freedom to shift resources toward 2026. As Stella explained, "We've stopped developing the car for quite some time now because all our focus is on 2026. We brought a few minor updates to Monza, but otherwise everything has been geared toward the future. Meanwhile, we've seen that some of our rivals, particularly Red Bull, have continued introducing upgrades." That early success provided the breathing room McLaren needed to think long-term, even if it meant sacrificing some late-season pace. For teams that were still finding their footing this season, continuing car development made total sense, even if the championship itself was already out of reach. Both Red Bull and Mercedes had strong motivation to keep pushing forward, because much of what they learn now in 2025 will carry over into 2026's regulations. And ultimately, that's exactly why we've seen them close the gap to McLaren in recent weeks. When McLaren had that performance buffer earlier in the year, they could still stay competitive on tracks that didn't perfectly suit their car. But now that Red Bull in particular has continued upgrading and found major pace gains lately, McLaren's underdeveloped package doesn't have that cushion anymore. That said, this doesn't mean McLaren won't still shine. There are plenty of upcoming circuits that should play to their strengths, and they'll likely head into some weekends as clear favourites. The next stop, Austin, features fast flowing corners reminiscent of Silverstone, where the MCL39 tends to perform best. Still, surprisingly, Andrea Stella was cautious in his outlook for Texas, suggesting the track might still expose some of their weaknesses in tight braking zones. As he put it, Austin will probably be a bit of a challenge for us because of those tighter corners and braking areas. Beyond that, the team expects stronger showings in Brazil, Qatar and Abu Dhabi, where the layouts better align with their car's strengths. Even though Singapore wasn't their finest weekend, McLaren still leave with the constructors' title comfortably secured. From a broader perspective, the way the team balanced their car development strategy with on-track execution has been incredibly impressive. Sure, they've missed out on a few points here and there, but that's almost inevitable when you have two top-tier drivers both chasing their first ever Drivers' Championship. For Max Verstappen, now revitalised in an upgraded Red Bull, there's little to lose in the final stretch of races. The pressure simply isn't there. But for Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, every race feels heavier, every mistake magnified. And that rising tension was on full display in Singapore. Their first lap collision perfectly summed up that pressure cooker environment. Heading into turn 2, Lando seemed so focused on Oscar that he completely misjudged his braking, tagging the back of Max and sending himself into Piastri's car. It was aggressive, bold, and honestly a little lucky. Looking back, you could argue that the only reason Lando came out ahead was because the impact forced Oscar to catch the car mid-corner, which gave Lando the run he needed to pass him on exit. Now, don't get me wrong. I love seeing drivers go for it, and I'd never criticise them for racing hard, but incidents like that highlight just how fine the margins are when the pressure is sky high. McLaren's recent struggles aren't just about the car, the human element matters too. When you're fighting at this level with fewer and fewer opportunities to deliver, even the most talented drivers can tense up or hesitate out of fear of making that one costly mistake. Meanwhile, drivers like Max, George and Kimi, who have less to lose at this stage, can afford to be freer, more relaxed. And that dynamic has made the grid far more competitive overall. McLaren, as a result, find themselves more exposed than ever. So that's where things stand. McLaren still have a phenomenal car, two world-class drivers and a championship in their hands. But the final races will test their composure as much as their machinery. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated with more F1 analysis, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.